Hello. Once you've taken the PI behavioral assessment, we take that information and turn it into a PI behavioral pattern. In that pattern, we measure 4 different drives, or the 4 factors. They are A, dominance, the drive for influence on people and events; B, extroversion, the drive for social interaction; C, patience, the drive for consistency and stability; and D, formality, the drive for rules and structure. Understanding each one of these 4 drives will help us better understand a person and how they operate in the workplace. PI has administered over 20 million assessments, and to make it easy for you, we've created 17 reference profiles. Think of it as shorthand, or an easy, digestible way for you to understand a wide variety of behaviors and needs. Your behavioral pattern might not fit exactly into one of these reference profiles, but most likely they'll come close. Your reference profile most closely matches an individualist profile. So let's talk about some basic needs and behaviors that come along with an individualist pattern. So some words that we could use to describe an individualist pattern is risk-taking, informal with detail, needs to take ownership, has authority over situations, more reserved, more introspective, more analytical, needs some time to think things through, and also more patient. So a little bit more time to work at a pace that's comfortable for you and comfortable for the decisions that you need to make. Let's also talk a little bit about some areas of strengths and challenges that go along with that. So some strengths of an individualist pattern is really out-of-the-box thinking. So you're very creative, you like to do things differently. The saying, you don't like to color inside the lines. For you, it's all about the creative approach. It's all about doing things differently. So if you're in an environment that allows you to do that, that allows you to come up with new ideas, that allows you to try new things, that allows you to be flexible in how you approach decision making, that is highly motivating for you. There can be some challenges, of course, that come along with an individualist pattern. Because you have so many different ideas and because you are so creative, it can feel to people around you that maybe you're kind of all over the place. So sometimes you really like the idea of doing one thing, and then other times you really like the idea of doing something else. And so there might be some inconsistency there. You also, because you are a little bit more analytical and your communication style may be a little bit more direct, you can also come across as someone who's just sort of telling something as opposed to sharing or selling or trying to get input. You sort of lay it on the table. Let's talk a little bit about decision making. When we talk about decision making with an individualist, the one thing that we want to come back to over and over again is your ability to think outside the box. In fact, I would use the word risk all the time when talking about an individualist pattern. Risk is something that you see opportunity in. It's something that motivates you. You like to do things differently. And that's because your dominance is on the high side, but it's also because you have less formality. So when we put those two things together, you really get someone who likes to take that risk. Decisions are fairly simple for you. You'll try something. If it doesn't work, you'll try it again. The only thing that we need to be careful about with decision making is because you also have a little bit more patience in your pattern, you like to make decisions on your own pace, right? You want to make sure that you're not being pushed or pressured from the outside when making those decisions. Let's talk a little bit about communication style. So communication style for you, as I pointed out before, is a little bit more direct and to the point. It's going to be more analytical. It's definitely going to be more factual. So it's not going to be about the fluff. It's not going to be about the empathetic nature of things. It's going to be about the results. It's going to be about getting it done. Communication style can also look factual for you, as I just said, but there are times where you're really big picture. So your communication style may be very broad and you may talk in large concepts. It depends on where you are at in that decision-making process. That will actually ultimately influence your communication style. So in summary, let's talk about a few words that I would use to describe an individualist pattern. So first and foremost, I would say flexible with the rules, autonomous, takes ownership, I would say creative, and outside the box. That's a great way of thinking about an individualist pattern. So that's a little bit more on your individualist profile.